We've been getting a ton of questions about the metaverse lately and
Yeah.
how it's going to like upend the way we do business. Is it hype? Is it the future? What's the deal? Well, everyone seems to be talking about it, but not everyone seems to, really understand it.
Right.
So to help us all out, we're doing a deep dive today. Hopefully this will help cut through all the noise and figure out what this whole metaverse thing actually means for you and me, in the real world.
Yeah, it's really easy to get caught up in all the sci-fi stuff, right? I mean, like you think Ready Player One and all that.
So will you?
But the thing is, the metaverse is already here.
It is.
It's making waves. Like this isn't just some, flashy new tech. It's a totally different way of interacting with, well, everything, really.
Okay, so paint a picture for me. If the internet, which is already a big part of our lives, became like completely immersive and interactive, what would that actually look like?
Well, think like 3D worlds instead of just scrolling on flat screens, right?
Sorry.
Because you're actually in the experience, not just looking at it. You can have virtual experiences that blend with your real life. This book really makes you think about like how your business would change if you could actually have a virtual version of your office.
Right.
You could meet with colleagues who are like actually physically on the other side of the world, but it would feel like they're right there in the room with you.
Right.
Or like you could attend a conference in, I don't know, London, but you're actually sitting in your living room.
Yeah, it's a lot to wrap your head around
Yeah.
because it's not just about the technology, right?
Right.
It's about fundamentally changing how we connect and work with each other.
Exactly. It's about like this whole new space opening up for businesses to operate in ways that we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah. The book actually mentions this lawyer, Mitch Jackson, and he's already using the metaverse for like client meetings and virtual events. I mean, if lawyers are already doing this,
Right.
it's not just a fad.
It's not. And the chapter really gets into it, laying out 7 big reasons why this matters for like every business.
Okay.
So number 1, the metaverse basically creates this global marketplace without borders.
So I can have clients in like Tokyo, suppliers in Brazil, and business partners everywhere, all working together, like we're all in the same room.
Exactly. It's about breaking down those geographic limitations that, we've always just accepted as part of doing business. And it's not just about like the virtual meetings themselves. It's about this whole new level of collaboration and communication and like genuine interaction.
So instead of like those Zoom calls, where the connection's always dropping and you're never really sure if the other person's listening,
Oh, tell me about it.
we're talking about something way more seamless, way more like in person.
Totally. The book really digs into this, but picture it, right? You're not just staring at a screen anymore. Like, you're actually interacting with these 3D avatars in a totally virtual environment. You're using, like, gestures, expressions. You've even got spatial audio.
Oh, wow.
So it feels way more natural, way more engaging.
So this is what they actually mean by virtual reality. Like, it's not just for gamers anymore.
Exactly.
This could be huge for businesses. I mean, think about global teams who need to, actually work together on stuff.
Totally. And think about the costs you'd save. No more expensive business trips, no more jet lag.
Right.
Like you could basically be anywhere in the world instantly for a fraction of the cost.
Well, and speaking of being in the metaverse,
Hmm.
this chapter, it says that by 2026, 25% of people, that's a quarter of everyone, could be spending an hour a day in the metaverse.
Yeah, that's a lot of eyeballs.
That's a lot of potential customers, too.
Exactly. Which kind of leads us to the next big takeaway, the whole idea of creating these like next level customer experiences.
Okay, this one's got me curious. What exactly does that even mean? Like, give me an example.
Okay, well, think about like online shopping, right?
Okay.
You're just scrolling through endless product pages, trying to figure out what you want, guessing your size, hoping it all works out.
Ugh, don't get me started.
Right. Now imagine, instead of all that, you can actually step into a virtual storefront. You can browse products in 3D, try things on virtually. You can even get like personalized recommendations from these like AI assistants.
Okay, that does sound a lot more fun than my usual online shopping experience.
Right.
But what about for like businesses that don't sell clothes? How does this translate to, like software or financial services or
Well, that's the beauty of it, right? It's completely flexible. So
Okay.
say you're in marketing, right? Instead of just making a regular old ad campaign, you could actually design a whole immersive experience.
Yeah.
Let your customers interact with your products virtually, actually see how they work, how they feel.
So it's not just about like pushing a product, it's about creating this whole world around your brand.
Exactly. Give your customers a reason to actually spend time with your brand, connect with it on a totally different level.
It's like building a whole universe for them to explore.
Yeah.
So this chapter talks about remote work on steroids. And honestly, like after the past few years, the idea of another Zoom meeting kind of makes me want to crawl under my desk. So
Yeah.
how's the metaverse going to change all that?
You know, that part of the chapter really stuck with me too. I mean, imagine instead of being chained to your desk or, your kitchen table, you could actually collaborate with colleagues in this like virtual office space. And we're not just talking about like a fake background on Zoom.
Yeah,
Like
what's
you'd
that?
have whiteboards, breakout rooms. You could even have like a virtual water cooler for those, quick chats.
Okay, I have to admit, a virtual water cooler does sound more appealing than another Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
But like, do we really think this is going to be like the norm?
Well, the book actually mentions this prediction from Meta,
Yeah, okay.
Facebook. They think that by 2030, remote work in the metaverse, like that's just going to be how we do it.
Wow. 2030 isn't that far off.
It's coming up fast.
Yeah. What's really interesting to me about all this is that the metaverse, like, it's not just for huge companies, right? In a way, it kind of levels the playing field and gives smaller businesses a chance to, like, actually compete.
Exactly. And the book does a really good job of highlighting that. Think about it. Like in the past, if you wanted to be a global company, you needed like global infrastructure, right? You needed offices all over the world, people traveling constantly, like the whole thing.
Right. The cost would be astronomical.
Exactly. But in the metaverse, a small business, they can have that global presence without all that overhead. It's huge.
Yeah. That is a game changer,
Yeah.
especially, for startups and entrepreneurs who are just starting out.
Absolutely. And we're not just talking about like pie in the sky ideas here. This is actually happening now.
It is.
Yeah, the book talks about this platform called Spatial,
Right.
where like artists are already hosting these virtual galleries and they're selling their work directly to a global audience. They don't need to rent an expensive gallery space. They don't need to deal with like agents or anything.
It's direct to consumer, but in the metaverse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just limited to art, right? Think about education, think about healthcare, any industry where like location used to be a barrier.
Right.
This could change everything.
Okay, so we've got this global marketplace, these incredible customer experiences. It really seems like the metaverse could also, like, totally change how we communicate, right?
Oh, absolutely. The chapter really gets into this. Like, imagine real-time translation that goes way beyond just basic subtitles. You'd be getting all the nuances, the cultural context, everything instantly. You could be pitching your business to investors on the other side of the world, and it would feel like you're all in the same room speaking the same language.
No more, hold on, let me just find the right word in the dictionary.
Exactly. And you know what else is really cool?
What's that?
The book mentions this service, 11 Labs, that can like instantly dub content into tons of different languages.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. Just think about what that means for, I don't know, collaboration, entertainment, even online learning.
Yeah, the possibilities are huge.
Geographic barriers basically disappear.
And speaking of learning, the chapter also talks about how the metaverse can make training way more efficient and immersive. So how does that work?
Well, think about most training now, right? It's often like passive, kind of boring, not always that useful. But the metaverse completely changes that. I mean, imagine these virtual simulations where employees can actually learn by doing stuff, but it's in this safe environment where it doesn't matter if they mess up.
Right.
So, say you need to learn how to operate some kind of like complicated machinery.
Yeah.
You could practice in the metaverse with like totally realistic physics, but there's absolutely zero risk.
Right. So you're not going to get hurt. You're not going to break anything.
Exactly.
And I bet companies are super excited about this for like onboarding new employees or even just, keeping their current employees' skills up to date.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the book even mentions this study by PwC that found that people actually learn up to 4 times faster in these VR-enabled environments compared to like traditional classrooms.
4 times. That's wild.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've talked about the global marketplace, customer experiences, the future of work, and even training. But we can't forget about marketing, right? I mean, how is the metaverse going to change how brands reach consumers?
Oh, this is where things get really, really interesting. So instead of just seeing a boring old ad for, let's say, your favorite pair of sneakers, you could actually step into a virtual world created by that brand.
Okay.
You could like try on those shoes virtually, you could hang out with other fans, you could even go to a virtual event. The book actually talks about Nike Land on Roblox, which is a great example of this.
Right.
It's not about just shoving ads in people's faces.
Right.
It's about creating this whole shareable
So
experience.
it's less about selling and more about connecting.
Exactly. And it's not just limited to products either. Like, imagine a travel company giving you these virtual tours of amazing destinations, or a restaurant doing like virtual cooking classes with a celebrity chef.
Right. The possibilities are kind of endless.
The metaverse just gives brands this whole new way to tell their story and connect with people on a way deeper level.
Okay, so we have covered a ton of ground here today. We're talking a global marketplace, amazing customer experiences, the future of work, how we train, a whole new way to think about marketing. It's pretty obvious that the metaverse isn't just some passing fad.
Hmm.
Like, this is a real shift in how we're going to live, how we're going to work, how we're going to play, everything.
And this chapter, it's just the starting point, really.
Right.
The big question is, how do you see all these trends shaping up your world, your industry, even your own career?
Yeah. What's your metaverse going to look like?
That's something to think about.